Hello, Sudoku fans, and welcome to a New York Times Hard Sudoku. Today is December 14, 2022. I haven't solved this puzzle yet, but I had a brief look at it earlier today, and it kind of looked interesting. So I thought I would give it a try and record it and see what it entails. So without further ado, let's look at these two ones and enter a 1 here in column 1. Now, 9 here and the 9 here will force a 9 in one of these two cells. And let's see, well, there's a 7 here and here. That puts a 7 firmly in this cell, doesn't it? Now, one of these two will have to be a 7 because of the 7 here and the 7 here. That makes one of these a 7. Therefore, no 7 can go here, 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 or here. So one of these will have to be a 7, as I said. That's all nice, but maybe we should just get on with the solve. There doesn't appear to be many immediate single digits here. So let me have a little look at this. 1, 2, 6, 9, 1, 6. So we still need to find a 2 and a 9. So besides the 9 that will go in one of these two cells, one of these three cells now must be a 2. So there's a 4 here and there's a 4 here blocking this cell, this cell, this cell, and this cell. That means that this cell must be a 4. Here's a 5 blocking these two cells, and there's a 5 blocking these two. Therefore, this is a 5. And that's actually nice because we need to find a 1, 5, 6, and an 8 for these 4 cells in column 2. And there's a 5 and a 6 and an 8 here, so that makes this a 1. And now one of these two empty cells will have to be a 1. And because of this one now blocking these cells and the one here blocking this cell, this is now a 1. And these two ones force a 1 in one of these three cells, and it has got to be this cell because of these two ones up here. A little progress is always nice. But I digress because this cell must be an 8, mustn't it? Because we still need to find a 5, 6, and an 8 for these three empty cells. And we have a 5 and a 6 here. So this is automatically an 8, and this is now a 5 and a 6. These three cells have to be a 2, 3, and a 9. There isn't much I can do about that right now. We need to find a 2, 5, and a 9 to complete row 7. There's a 5 here blocking this cell, and there's a 5 here blocking this cell. Therefore, this must be a 5, and this is now a 2 or a 9, and this is a 2 or a 9. Because of the 5 here and the 5 here blocking these 4 cells, one of these will have to be a 5. I'm noticing a 7, 5 here and a 7 and a 5 here, and a 7, 5 here. Put a 7 and a 5 pair in these two cells. And that means that one of these cells will have to be a 9, and therefore one of these cells as well. And this 4 now can't go anywhere in these 4 cells, so it needs to go in one of these cells here. Row 2 is somewhat restricted as well. Need to find a 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. There's a 7 and a 5 here, and there's an 8 here, so this has got to be a 3 or a 4. And the 7 and the 5 need to go in two of these three cells. Oh, silly me. It just occurred to me how I said that one of these two cells must be a 9, didn't I? Because of the 9 here and the 7, 5 pair here. So one of these must be a 9, and therefore this 2, 9 obviously cannot be a 9. I don't know why I didn't spot it that earlier. This is now a 2, and this is, of course, a 9. And now one of these two will have to be a 9, and therefore one of these 3 cells must be a 9. These two now have to be a 2 and a 3. There's a 2 here, of course, so this is a 3 and this is a 2. Ah, yes, the New York Times syndrome. Look at the 3, 6 here and the 3, 6 here, and look at these gaping empty cells here. Yes, that's right. They have to be a 3, a 6 in some order, making these two a 4 and a 9, and therefore this must be a 2. These last 3 empty cells in the bottom row are going to be a 4, 8, and a 9. We know that, let's see, 4, 8, and 9. Well, this cannot be a 9, and this cannot be a 9 because we have the 2 9s here, remember? So this is now a 9, and these two have to be a 4 and an 8. And we can find the 9 for the center column. It needs to go here because this 9 and this 9 block these 4 cells, and therefore a 9 for this block and also for this column needs to go here or here. And over here, a 9 for this block needs to go either here or here because we have these 2 9s. So we need now to find a 9 for the center row. And it can't go here for the reasons just stated. And it can't go here because of the 9 here. Therefore, it must go here. For the first column here, we need to find a 3, 7, and an 8. There's a 3 here, there's an 8 here, and they can both observe this cell, which therefore must be a 7. And together with the 7 here and the 7 up here, this now is a 7. Now we need to find an 8 and a 3 for these two cells. And we also need an 8 and a 3 for these two cells, don't we? And since there's a 3 already looking at this cell, this is a 8, this is a 3, and this is an 8. It's looking pretty good now. These are still 5 and 6, making these a 1 and a 9. So I'm investigating the 4s. We need to find a 4 for one of these 3 cells. And I think I know where it has to go. And here is why. This 4 here blocks this cell. It cannot be a 4. And therefore, as discussed earlier, one of these two cells will have to be a 4. And if that holds true, then this cannot be a 4 either. So these cells cannot be 4s, forcing a 4 into this cell, doesn't it? So now we are looking at a 5 and a 7 for these two cells. And the 7 here forces this to be a 5 and this is a 7. And that takes care of the 7 and 5 pair we had here, doesn't it? Here's the 7 now, and I give you the 5 here. This 5 and this 5 puts a 5 here. The other digit missing was a 6. And now one of these will have to be a 6. There's a 6 here, therefore the 6 must go here and the 4 here. And now this must be a 4 and this therefore a 9, putting also a 9 in this cell up here because of the 9 here and here, of course. These are still 4 and 8, and these are still 3 and 6. And what else do we have? Well, this one has got to be a 2 or a 3 as well as this one. We should be able to find a digit for this row 2. We need to find a 3, 5, 7, and an 8. This cell is blocked by a 7 and a 5 and an 8. That means that it must be a 3. This 3 and this 3 now forces a 3 up here, and that makes this cell a 2. The 3 here blocks these cells. The 3 blocks these cells, making this a 3. And since we now found this 3, and we still need to find a 5, 7, and an 8 for row 2, there's a 7 and a 5 here, making this an automatic 8. And therefore, in conjunction with this 8, this now must be an 8, making this a 4. And that makes this a 4, according to earlier discussion. One of these will have to be a 2. Let's look at these two. They have to be a 4 and a 6. There's a 4 already in this column. Therefore, this is a 6 and this is a 4. This 6 forces a 6 here because we have the 6 in this row, right? And therefore a 6 here, and that one for the longest time was going to be a 3. This now must be a 9, making this a 9 and making this a 1. Now this therefore must be a 1, and this lonely cell is going to be a 2 along with this one here and this one here. This now must be an 8, making this an 8. Now we only have 2 cells left, and that is going to be a 7 for this one and a 5 for this. I hope you enjoyed this puzzle. It was not quite as easy as many New York Times puzzles, but it wasn't really that hard either. Although I know some of you who are new to the world of solving Sudokus without using markup and pencil marks or notation, whatever you choose to call it, you might have found it a little challenging. But as I hope to have shown you, once you think about it in a certain way, it becomes very easy. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll be back for more soon. Goodbye for now.